How do you know when you need a mentor?
I would say now. If you don't have one, you need one right now because you don't know what you don't know.
So what are some of the benefits of mentorship?
There was a study by Gallup and Purdue University about what leads to professional personal success. And what they found is that what you study doesn't matter. Where you go to school doesn't matter. How big the university is, none of that mattered. Right. The one factor that mattered is the people who said they had a mentor while they were at the university.
Alvaro de Vicente has helped thousands of young adults successfully transition into adulthood. He authors a Substack publication called Men in the Making, advises dozens of schools around the country, and most importantly, has personally mentored hundreds of young adults. In today's episode, we discuss the importance of mentorship, the existential and practical questions that we should all revisit, especially when we're young, and the quick daily habits that compound over time.
The real problem is not when you know your life is not where you want it to be. It's when you don't know that your life is not where you want it to be and it isn't there.
Can people change?
You can change. Everyone can change. You don't change your past.
Right.
And your habits are your habits. But if you change your disposition and your attitude, then you begin to change your habits and you begin to change your decisions. And over time, who you are, who you appear to be, and who you are actually can change.
Are there mistakes that you see a lot of your mentees making?
The search for the perfect life is how can I do things to take care of myself? And that's a fallacy because I think the actual perfect life happens when you
The single biggest superpower any of us have is the freedom to choose what we get out of life. And we believe we can build great lives if we strive. Okay, so Alvaro, I want to start with designing your life plan. Harvard did a study a few years back, and they found that 3 out of 5 young adults report that they don't have meaning or purpose in life. And more broadly, as I'm sure you know with your experience with young people, there's just a lot of folks who aren't sure where they're going in life. And I know you every year talk to dozens of young adults, and one of the things that you tell them is the importance of developing a life plan. So what is a life plan, and why is it important for young adults to think about?
Sure, great. Thank you, Daniel. First of all, I'm actually surprised that 2 out of 5 young adults actually have purpose in life. I'm encouraged by that statistic. I'm more of an optimist.
Great, you're right.
Yeah, and I think, well, that's not bad. 40%, I'll take that. I mean, I thought
it's not too bad.
Yeah, I thought it would be much
it's
lower.
3 out of 5 don't have meaning or purpose, and then 2 out of 5 don't realize that they don't have meaning or purpose.
I didn't know you were Irish. You were just such a pessimist. So, I mean, it's interesting because a life plan is actually what we should do that most of us don't do. For this reason, if you think about any other stage in your life, you actually have a plan, right? High school, you have a plan. College, you have a plan. Professionally, you have a plan. And the plan usually means, okay, what do I want to get out of this experience? Right? What do I want to get out of high school? And at some point, even if you don't have the plan, your parents have the plan. They want you to go to a college. They want you to learn certain things. When you go to the university, the same idea. Like, what do I want to get out of this 4 years? Right? If you don't have a plan, then you waste those 4 years. And by the way, a lot of people do that. Right? And the number one requirement for a plan to actually be a plan is to know what the end goal is. Right? You can't have a plan unless you know what the purpose of the activity is. Life is just a series of journeys, like stages, right? You don't go on a journey without a destination. You don't say, hey, I'm going to go on a trip. Where are you going? I don't know. How are you getting there? Not sure, but I think it's going to be fun. I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be a disaster. Right. you got to get some money, you got to get some directions, you got to have a sense of where you're going. So the life plan would be, okay, what is the goal of your life?
Right.
So that the first question I think for young people is, what do you believe happens once you die?
Right. Wow.
Like, even if you're not religious, you have to face the fact, like, where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
And if you tell me, I don't think there's an afterlife, well, then you're going to draw your plan accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you have a plan,
Right.
right? Obviously, if you have a belief in the afterlife that is accurate,
Mm-hmm.
then you have a much better chance to design a better plan, right? But you should ask that question regardless.
So it's a little bit of the Stephen Covey start with the end in mind
100%.
type of thing. So
100%.
ask the question, what is the end of my life, or what's going to happen after I die?
Right.
That's step one.
That's step one.
What's step two?
So step two, once you know the end of your life, I think the step two is, how am I going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge question. So I think that the better way to ask that question is, who's my team? Like, who do I have on my team to help me accomplish this life plan?
Right.
And for most people, that is a spouse, right? Who's going to be my partner, right? The person who's going to be by my side that is going to help me get there. And then there'll be other, right? And, if you're religious, it's going to be a parish priest, spiritual director. If you're non-religious, some type of mentor. I mean, there are other people, but I think, choosing that partner for life, that is spouse,
Right.
is crucial.
And then what's the third step? So you figure out what the end of your life, or what you believe about the end of your life.
Right.
Figure out who's your team, and then what's the third step?
I think the third step, which is the one that I think is most enjoyable to think about, mostly because it is the most open-ended, I think, is, what do you want to leave behind? Like, if, according to the plan of your life, and instead of deciding what you're going to do, why don't you decide, okay, what do I want to leave behind when I'm gone?
Right.
My dad would say that he was kind of a self-made. Well, he was a self-made man. Came from a very, very poor background, and he would say, every man has to leave three things behind. You have to plant a tree, write a book, and have a child, because those are the three ways in which a man leaves life behind him when he goes.
That's so interesting.
But I mean, the point, I think, of his wisdom is, what are you going to leave behind? As you get older, what are you going to look at and say, okay, this is my legacy?
Right.
Right.
It's a little bit of the, have you heard the distinction of resume virtues versus eulogy virtues? There's like the stuff that goes in your resume, like
Right.
worked at insert investment bank, went to this school, and then it's the eulogy virtues of like, was a father,
Yes.
I guess wrote this book, impacted people in this way.
Right.
That's a little bit of what you're saying.
Yes. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Get Low.
Mm-mm.
It's Robert Duvall, Bill Murray. It's well, just very, very briefly, Robert Duvall is this shut-in, ostracized by the community in which he lives, in this small village, because of something happened in the past. And he decides that he's going to fake his death and have a funeral while he's still alive, because he wants to see who comes to it and what they say. And it's interesting for this exercise. Like, what would you want people to say at your funeral and part of your eulogy?
Right.
Like, what are the things that you want to be known for? I think that those are different mental exercises to think about, what decisions do I want to make in my life according to this plan that I have in mind.
Do you see a risk with the students that you mentor or that you just see at the school when they don't have a life plan? Is there a clear, like, meandering or kind of aimlessness that's dangerous?
Sure. I mean, at the school age group, right, high school and below, even if you don't have a plan, things don't go that badly because you have parents.
Right.
Right. I mean, you don't really expect a 14-year-old to be totally locked into a plan. But you do see, even at the high school level, students who have a sense of what they want to do. So you could have the academic type, right? They just want to get straight A's. They are going to make decisions to help them do that. Or you have the athletes.
Right.
You do what it takes to get there. And actually, there are a lot of sacrifices, as you know, that go into living that plan. But you actually live a better life, meaning that you live a life that is more productive.
Yeah.
You're actually working towards something that is making you better. It helps you to deny yourself of things that are maybe neutral or maybe they're detrimental.
Right.
And you do so because you don't want to derail this plan that you have.
Right.
So even at the high school level, you see that. I think it's much more noticeable and important thereafter once you're on your own and you're making your own decisions.
Because it's one of the things that happens in just life is if you look at the script that most people are on, it's you go to school for 18 years and everything's planned for you.
Right.
And you actually have a feedback loop to know how you're doing. You get constant grades. You have people telling you you're doing well or you're not doing well. And then you graduate. Some people go to college, some people don't. But then the script kind of finishes, and it's kind of the first moment in your life where you actually have to decide, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going? I'm sure that's something that you see with a lot of the men that are about to leave the Heights, is they have to actually ask themselves that question of like, where am I going? What am I going to do in this next chapter?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I often say, once you finish high school, you're independent. Independent does not mean that you do not depend on anybody.
Right.
It means that you choose who to depend on. Right. But you, as a human being, you're always dependent on other people.
Right.
Right. But now you get to choose. What happens is that a lot of high school graduates don't choose.
Yeah.
They just go solo. We at the Heights, as you know, we have a very strong mentoring program where every student has a mentor. And there are many virtues to it, but I think one usually unspoken about virtue and benefit to it is to habituate the student into having a mentor. Getting him in the habit of knowing I'm going to have someone in my life outside of my parents to whom I'm going to go for professional and personal advice. And it doesn't have to be a perfect person. It's just somebody I trust and somebody who cares about me. And somebody who's got something to say, right? Life experience. Because once you're in that habit, I think you're much more likely, and I see this at the Heights with the graduates, you're much more likely to seek mentors.
Right.
There was a study by Gallup and Purdue University about what leads to professional personal success. And what they found is that what you study doesn't matter. Where you go to school doesn't matter. The one, how big the university is, none of that matter.
Right.
The one factor that matter is the people who said they had a mentor while they were at the university.
Wow.
A professor who just cared about them and asked questions about what they wanted to do professionally, their personal life. Those people did better professionally and personally.
Wow.
Subscribe is crazy.
Someone came up with that like way too quick. It wasn't us. It actually was not us.
I kind of like it though.
Pretty
I mean,
cool.
let's see if it sticks. So, not us. Someone came up with the word subscribe, and I'm still on the fence about whether I like it. If you do like it, subscribe to this channel, and if you don't like it, subscribe to this channel.
So what are some of the benefits of mentorship? Seeking counsel from people who aren't your parents. How do you find a mentor? How do you know when you need a mentor? What kind of person should you look for?
Yeah, it's great. So I'll start with the middle question. How do you know when you need a mentor? I would say now.
Now.
Anybody who's
right
listening,
now,
like
immediately.
right now.
Right.
If you don't have one, you need one right now because you don't know what you don't know. Right? Is like saying, okay, I'm going to try to go to the Olympics in 3 years for, I don't know, discus throwing, and I'm going to do it on my own.
Right.
Like,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, get a coach because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Get somebody who knows, who's going to guide you along, who's going to provide objectivity. So you need a mentor now. Everyone does. How do you find one? It's a really good question. I mean, in a school system, often it's going to be a teacher, a professor, somebody there that maybe you have in the class, maybe in the classroom, maybe you don't, but somebody that you find attractive, that seems to care, that has that capacity.
You know, one of the things I think that was so powerful to me is having someone who believes in you other than your parents.
Yes.
Because your parents are going to love you regardless, but having someone outside of your parents who kind of looks at you and says, I care, I know you, I want to advise you, there's just something so powerful about that.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly empowering because I think what happens is that your parents love you and they're committed to you, and at the same time you wonder whether you're worth it.
Right.
Right? Because even if you were a miserable wretch of a person, they still love you.
Right.
Someone from the outside who doesn't have to. Because I think as we're growing up, we have this sense that, my parents have to love me. My parents have to support me. I mean, this, I came out of them, so they're somewhat invested in me, right? Regardless. Yeah. They can't do anything about it now. This person wants me because it's me, and that is really empowering. I think that's the sense of trust that you're referring to, and I think it's very, very true. Finding that mentor.
Right. It's also cool how in pop culture you do see the importance of mentors pop up again and again. Think of Star Wars. There's always like the Padawan and the master.
Sure.
Like, Luke Skywalker has to go find Yoda.
Sure.
Like has to seek him out. Has to go to a different planet.
Every story. Like even Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings.
Right,
I mean, every great story has mentors and mentees.
Right, exactly.
And the mentees could not do what they do without that mentorship.
Right, exactly.
And the story. It's not that life imitates stories. Stories come out of our human experience.
Exactly.
Right. I think we all know that this is just the way that we're built. This is the way it works.
For some of the kids that you mentor, are there things that you just typically advise them, like just the first 101 talk that you give them?
One idea for young people, and I think, but you could be high school, could be college, young professional, I don't care. I think is what I call the 5-step to success morning routine. And is the following. And after the 5-step, I can add a 6th one for some. But here's the 5 steps. Number 1, no snooze.
No snooze.
Like, alarm clock goes off, you get out of bed, right? The alarm clock is a terrorist. You never, ever negotiate with terrorists. The moment that in the morning you think, do I really have to get up? You're negotiating and you're going to lose.
Right.
Because you'll convince yourself that actually, I don't know what I was thinking last night. Right. I have another 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't need to get up that.
Like, no negotiation.
Yeah.
It's a terrorist. You just shut it off, right? So no snooze. That's the first one. Number 2, yes, you make your bed, right? Many reasons for that have been even books written about it.
Well, what are some of the reasons? Why should you make your bed?
It's really good to gain self-mastery for the day, to do things that are doable, that may be a little bit difficult early in the morning.
Right.
You just get yourself, your mind and your heart and your body used to doing what you have to do, even though it's not the most attractive thing. It's a small win. Also, if you start by doing something like that and do it well, you set yourself in a mental process and habit of, I'm going to do things well.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if you come home and things haven't gone well, at least you can look at your made bed and say, well, at least I did do something, this morning. So that's the second one, the bed. Third, 5 to 10 minute workout. Not the only thing you do for exercise, but just some push-ups, some planks, some sit-ups, some leg lifts, whatever. Just 5 to 10 minutes, and it's the same. It's to get the blood flowing. It's to wake you up. It gives you muscle tone.
Right.
But also, like making your bed, it's a small win.
It's a small win.
It's something you can do unless you're really sick. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't do it in your own room. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't need any equipment, nothing like that, right? 4, shower. Ideally, cold shower.
Right.
Ideally. And I have people who say, well, I shower in the evening. Like, well, that's beautiful. Shower in the evening. In the morning, just get wet. Right? I mean, you don't have to spend 20 minutes. Just get wet. And again, it's the same idea. It wakes you up, but it's another small victory, right? And then the 5th one, and this is more really for high school kids, is eat breakfast. I mean, it applies to everybody, but what happens is that there's a lot of high school kids that if you don't wake up on time, then you go to school without breakfast.
Right.
And now you're not going to pay attention, you're cranky and all that stuff, right? as you get older, you tend to get into your own routine and make your own breakfast. But regardless, I want to leave it in there. So those are the 5 steps.
I love that.
No snooze, bed, workout, shower, breakfast.
So it's funny. One of the things that's going around the internet right now is these like crazy morning routines. I don't know if you've seen, his name's Ashton Hall.
No, I haven't.
He's this guy he basically has like a 4-hour morning routine. And it starts with him like
4 hours.
4 hours. He wakes up at 4 a.m. and he does a 4-hour morning routine. So morning routines are kind of
That's impressive.
on the rise. This is much more
This is
doable.
15, 20 minutes.
Right, exactly.
No, you could actually do this every day.
I spent probably, I would say a full year experimenting with different morning routines.
Okay.
And I have to say it's very close to this.
I bet.
Get up, make your bed, drink water with like a little bit of salt in it. I do like a little go outside, go on a morning walk for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
Exercise 2 to 3 minutes, shower, clothes, done.
Yes.
And what I noticed just about myself in the day was when I did the morning routine, it was almost like I was building momentum for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's almost like a car that's just picking up speed. It's just like small. And by 8 a.m. or whenever you're finished, you're already moving super quick.
Yes.
And there's that feeling of like, I'm just attacking things, getting them done. You're stacking wins.
Yeah, you start the day, you're 5-0.
Right. No,
And
exactly.
that's pretty good.
That's a good way to say it.
That's pretty good. It's a good season, right? This day. No, I love the idea of going for a walk. I think if you can do that, that's another one that you could add. Is fantastic. Go for a walk or a run. Some people go for a run, but at least for a walk.
Yeah, something.
Get some.
Yeah, I just think outside. There's like the research on the sunlight in eyes.
100%.
Yeah. And the exercise thing, by the way, I don't know if I do 15 minutes like what you said. Or no, you said 10 minutes. But like even as something as simple as 60 seconds of jumping jacks, 60 seconds of push-ups, 60 seconds of sit-ups. That's 3 minutes.
Yes.
And even that.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. And if you do that every single day, 7 days a week, that's 21 minutes of exercise. That's like, for some people, that could be an extra full workout. Stack that over a year, that's 50 extra workouts.
It's a great investment.
It is.
It's a great investment. With a walk, about 2-3 summers ago, I decided to go on a walk every morning for half an hour. But I live in D.C., and which is fantastic, great.
Yeah.
I love the city.
That's not a naturey walk. That's like a
no, but I grew up in Madrid. I love diesel. I love pavement. I love
the gray
buildings. I love the sounds.
Yeah.
I love the sounds of cars and brakes
honking.
and honking. I live for that. But I was surprised by just how many dead rats there are, and like every day 8 to 9. And
just littered in your path, waiting for you on your morning walk.
And if you want a list of restaurants next to where the dead rats were, I can give you that list at some point. It'll be the top 10.
We probably should. The world just we'll tank their businesses on air. Terrible.
Just let me know. Top 10 list of restaurants with most dead rats around them.
Gosh, that's so funny. So back to the mentorship stuff. So you kind of have that 5-step morning routine that you would just give as a standard cookie cutter, improve your life to your mentees.
Right.
Are there mistakes that you see a lot of your mentees making, or kind of maybe bad habits that you try to talk them out of or move them off of?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the most common mistake or bad habit now, it has to do with phones,
right,
and the screens. I mean, that's just, I think it's for high school students. I think it is for college. I think it's for just about anybody.
But like screen time, or is it what you're doing on the phones?
Well, obviously, what you do on the phones could make it even worse. Right. But screen time, just the amount of time that we spend looking at screens, it's inordinate. To the point where it's affecting our brains, and there are many studies about this. Right. It's affecting our social lives, and it's also affecting our ability to contemplate, which I think is then what's going to do. It affects your ability to contemplate. And German philosopher Pieper talks about contemplation as observing lovingly. It's a beautiful way to think about it, right? We talk about what does it mean to contemplate? Well, to observe lovingly, to observe nature lovingly, right? To observe another person lovingly, and ultimately to observe the Creator lovingly.
Wow.
And what we know about him. So that ability is taken away by habituating our brains to be bombarded by pixels.
Right.
Right. So even if you use the screens for perfectly fine material all the time, which by the way is a huge assumption
Right.
for most young men. But
course.
even if you did, you're still depriving yourself of this ability to contemplate, and it's going to be through contemplation that you're going to become most fulfilled, I believe.
There's a funny, I can't remember who said it. It might have been, I want to give this person credit, but I can't remember. But something to the effect of look up, not down.
Yes.
Like what happens when you're on your phone? You're like this.
Yes.
And there's so much of life is up here.
100%.
And actually the moments where you actually feel your soul being pulled to something greater is,
Yes.
to me, let's think of it. You're looking up at the stars.
Yes.
You're looking at the sky. You're looking at the
Yes.
sunset. And there's just something about that on a physical level, right? Like literally like get your head up out of your phone and look up at what's happening in the world, in the stars, in the
Right.
heavens. But there's also something metaphorical of like your contemplation point.
Yes.
You can't think when you're buried in your phone, because what you're doing is you're letting the algorithm or whatever's
Yes.
happening like
Hit you.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's something good about having the silence or the space for your mind to, I guess,
Yes.
observe lovingly.
Yes. Here's small ways to think about it. Next time you're out in a restaurant to eat with a friend, and your friend says, I'm going to go to the restroom, sit there by yourself without looking at the phone.
I love that.
Try that.
It's hard. I've tried. It's so
And
hard.
you find yourself
so
like
hard.
your hand automatically goes for the phone as soon as
Right.
the person stands up.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to. Just sit there and look around.
Can I give you a more gross example?
Yes.
When you go to the bathroom,
Yes.
it's like, for me, it's actually hard to not look at my phone. And that was one where it's like, I can't even go to the bathroom, like pulling it out and like checking my email or something.
Yes.
Like that's crazy.
It is kind of sad.
It is sad. So to your point about the waiting when someone goes to the bathroom, I've tried really hard.
That, or
to
if
do
you're
that.
waiting for an Uber,
Right. Just don't go on your phone.
don't go on your phone.
Yeah. The other thing back to the morning routine is, I think not looking at your phone for the first hour of the day, if possible. It's one of the best things, at least for me, that I've found.
Yes.
And I'm terrible about this, but my phone's in airplane mode a lot. But when you wake up, your phone's off. You don't check texts, don't check emails. Just
Right.
leave it off and kind of do the morning routine and let your just body wake up, let your mind
Right.
you feel so good versus, and I've made the opposite mistake where you wake up, especially in college, you wake up, you lay in bed, you open your phone, you start looking at your phone in bed.
Yes.
You just feel terrible.
Yeah, you do. And I have a hard time not looking at my phone first thing in the morning because I have this angst that there's going to be an important message
That you have to see.
about the
right.
school, whatever. And frankly, that happens a couple times a year.
Yeah.
But enough, it's like a bad golfer. It's the unfortunate good shot once in a while that keeps you coming back,
Right.
I guess, right? So keep
Right.
going back to it. But I think, so if you're like me, and maybe, maybe somebody should just tell me, like,
Don't do it.
Don't be a wimp, just don't do it, right? Like,
Right.
that could happen.
Right.
That may be the
I
solution.
think that's what's happening right now. No.
There's actually an intervention.
Right.
This
Yeah,
is what
this
this is. It's
isn't
not-
an interview. We need to talk to you about your phone.
It was a trap. Right. Now I see. But a workaround that I have found is, all right, if you're going to look at your phone, if you think you have to, get out of bed, stand,
Smart.
maybe even stand on one foot
Yeah.
and look at it.
Go on a walk, actually, and look at it.
Or maybe you're going to, but quickly, just whatever you just like quickly. It's not, look at it is not look at everything.
Right.
It's just any important messages. No,
No, done,
go.
good.
It doesn't
Right.
mean, I got 5 text messages.
Right.
Like, don't worry about
And
them.
it certainly doesn't mean scrolling on social media. There's
No.
actually, I forget I saw some study that there's something almost doubly dangerous about looking at social media in particular right when you wake up or right before you go to bed, because there's something that your brain is in. It's almost, I think I want to call it like the alpha brainwave state, where the impact of the social media is deleterious in a bad, like double
Yes.
than if you did it in the middle of the day.
Yeah, it's compounded.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I feel it, like when especially in college, like you wake up, you look at social media, you just, there's something happens to your brain. I can
Right.
feel it where I'm like, oh, I feel gross right now. This is
Right.
terrible.
Right.
Or it's right before bed too, although I'm still working on that. That's a hard.
Yeah, that's another piece of advice to anybody is put your phone down at least 45 minutes before you go to bed.
Yeah.
At least 45
So
minutes.
hard. I got to do a better
That one
job
is
of
hard.
that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
How about you do the evening? I'll do the morning.
Right.
We'll check back in
I
3
love it.
months.
Let's do it. If you just put
Lunch
Alvaro's
on the
habits
loser.
and my habits together, you'd have a
Yeah.
complete person.
Yeah, we got a
I love
complete.
it.
I don't know what's going to happen at noon, but
love
maybe
it.
we're
Yeah.
both a mess at noon. But
We need to find someone there. So one thing I was curious about, and this maybe takes us back into the life plan thing, but you mentioned to me beforehand the fallacy of the perfect life,
right.
and I actually didn't know what you were talking about at first.
Right.
And I've been like thinking about it. I think I might have a theory, but like what is that fallacy?
Yeah.
And can you flesh that out a little
Yes.
bit?
So I think that what I mean by that is this is we are at a cultural point, not for the first time in the history of the world, but I think more accentuated now, where we believe that we can control everything in our lives. Not only that we believe that we can control everything in our lives, but that we have a right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That if something happens that is undesirable to me, I'm a victim, either of someone else's perpetrating or just a victim of circumstances or victims of a God that I don't know, but somehow has chosen me as a target for victimizing. The perfect life is comfortable, is successful, however I define that. And then if I have a perfect life, I should have a perfect day, I should have a perfect everything, right? And truth be told is that we do control a lot of aspects of our lives. I mean, we have a lot of tools, we have financial means, we have things available to us that we can set up our lives in a fairly comfortable way. So much so that we begin to believe that this is the way it ought to be and the way that it should be just by nature, by who I am. The problem with that is twofold. One is that simply, obviously, leads to disappointment. Okay, that's easy enough, right? But more importantly, even if it doesn't lead to disappointment, it leads to selfishness. Because I'm making every decision according to what I think my perfect life ought to be.
Right.
Right? And if my perfect life is my own comfort or sense of success,
Right.
as opposed to that life plan that we talked about at the beginning, then I may be making small decisions during the day every day based on my unspoken, unacknowledged operative plan, which is protect my perfect life.
So how
Right.
do you balance the intentionality of designing your life with not veering into the fallacy of the
Great.
perfect life?
So the plan of life then, I mean, it could be anything, right? Because at the beginning we didn't say that it had to be a particular plan of life, Christian plan of life, or anything like that. But the plan of life that I believe is going to be most rewarding, that we know is most rewarding, is one that is other-oriented, right? You know, Aristotle told us that we're social animals, and that is true. What Christianity improves upon that is that sociable doesn't mean that we need others to survive. It's that we need to give ourselves to others to thrive. Right? That's what being social really means.
Right.
Right? That the greatest blessing we have is not that people love us, is that there are people in our lives that we can love. That's the greatest blessing. That's what brings us out of us, right? Out
Right.
of ourselves. So with that plan of life, then my decisions are, okay, yeah, I have to be in great health. Not because I want to look at myself in the mirror and be admired, but because I need to serve others.
Yeah.
I need to look good for my family. I need to be healthy to do a lot of things for a lot of people. That's why I have to take care of myself, right? I have to be successful professionally, not because I want to pat myself on the back, but because this is my way to give to society. Right? I want to contribute.
Right.
I want to do as much as possible. So, so I think the balance there is having the plan of life, which is very intentional, but at the same time, the reason for which I do things is other-centered.
Right. I'm sure you've probably heard this. Have you heard of the fourth grade find the balloon experiment? Have you heard about this?
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
have.
they get this teacher gets her whole fourth grade class into the hallway and asks each of them to write their name on a balloon. And so I think it's probably like 100 of these kids. They sign their name on this balloon. She takes the balloons and mixes them up, and then she says, "Go find your balloon." And so you can just imagine there's 100 kids going out there and they're trying to find their balloon, and no one's finding them. There's a scuffle. People are bumping into each other. It's not working. And then she just reframes it and says, when you find a balloon, just shout the name of the person whose balloon you found and go bring it to them.
Right.
So essentially, instead of going and looking for your balloon, just whatever balloon that you see that someone else's, go give it to them.
Right.
And within like 2 minutes, everyone has their balloon because it's their search.
Right.
Sally, I got yours over here. Run over. And it's
Right.
like, John. And kind of the point of the experiment is like when you are looking for your own happiness, it doesn't work. When you're trying to serve others, that's actually how you find your happiness. So similar to what you were saying. Of like,
no, exactly. And that's even, because I think that experiment talks more of, society works better when people look out for other people.
Right.
Like it just works better.
Right.
I mean, society in general, families for sure. Like if we have siblings looking out for each other, it works better than if everyone is about her own business. And I think even beyond that, you just are going to be more fulfilled. Like you feel much better about who you are. I don't know if you ever saw there's a movie called Marvin's Room.
I'm missing all of your pop references today.
So I have to say it's not a great movie.
Right.
It's a fairly silly movie in many ways. Diane Keaton and Meryl Streep and DiCaprio as DiCaprio as a spoiled kid. But the basic story is that two sisters, Keaton and Streep, are Meryl goes to somewhere to become a hairdresser, has these two kids, divorce, I think. Diane Keaton stays with a dad who is bedridden and sort of non-responsive for years. Diane Keaton has cancer and is a bone marrow transplant, so the other sister comes in with the family. At the end of the movie, kind of a tearjerker for some. They don't find the right match. So Diane Keaton knows that she's going to die and breaks down, and her sister says, "Well, but listen, it's okay." And Diane Keaton says, "I know I've had so much love in my life." The sister says, "That's right, I love you. Dad loves you." Like, no, you don't get it. I've been able to love people in my life. And that is the basic message, right? That's the fulfillment. So I think that the perfect life, the search for the perfect life is how can I do things to take care of myself? And that's a fallacy, because I think the actual perfect life happens when you say, what do I need to do to take care of those in my life?
Do you think that there's an element of the fallacy of the perfect life where almost like a subcomponent is the danger of the perfect option, where we all have so many options in front of us and we really want to find like the perfect option, the perfect choice, and then we end up like not making any decision, or we delay the decision, or is that something that you?
You're so right. I remember in the 90s running programs for high school students, and maybe it happened before this, but it's the first time I'm aware that it happened when I would call sophomore, junior in high school to tell him about some activity, some program we're running the next week, and usually, if a kid said, "Sounds great, let me check with my parents," legitimate. In fact, you have to, because you have to. Like, you're 15, you can't make your own choices at that point yet. What I found in the 90s is kids saying, "Oh, that sounds great. Let me see what else is going on." And then I realized, wow, I am encountering a cultural revolution. Like now, 14, 15, 16-year-olds are managing their options.
Right.
Like, I don't remember managing my options as a kid. Like, I either did what I had to or what I was told to do. And otherwise, I would get into trouble. But, I don't remember ever telling anybody, let me see what else I got going.
Right.
Right? Because, you're 15. Let me give you some news. You don't have that much going on.
Right.
Right? So that, to your point, I think is the perfect option.
Right.
And we do it so often now. It's like, let me see. How late can I commit to this thing
Right.
so that I leave my options open?
You know what's funny about that is there's so many people I know that I feel like I'll just be getting coffee with them and they'll say something like, man, I'm not really sure what I should do. Maybe it's like an existential crisis. And you just push a little bit. And you say, well, like, what is kind of going on in your life? And it turns out there's usually like a couple options that they actually do have. There's an internship offer on the table.
Right.
They got into this school over here. And so I always think it's funny that I think a lot of people have this idea of like, there's this thing out there that I need to see and then I'll make a decision. Where in reality, it's, to your point, it's usually that there probably is something already in your life.
Right.
And you need to say yes to that.
Yes.
Or you need to just go do that. Like you got that internship offer. That's actually the only one you have. Like
Go for it.
Go for
Do
it.
it.
Exactly. Do it.
Commit now.
Yeah.
Stop looking.
Right. Or even, colleges, it's like and it's pretty unusual, I think, that you get into 100 colleges and you have to really like agonize over which one you should go to. It's more like, there's two and
Go.
you got to, go.
Yeah, and it doesn't, this idea, because we have this idea that I got to go to the perfect college. Frankly, there's probably about 300 colleges that could be perfect for you.
Right.
Right? It depends what you make of it. But there isn't that one that is perfect. Or I got to get the perfect job. Again, there's probably a couple hundred jobs that you could get
Right.
that would work equally well. So I agree. It's just making the decision. Just do that.
Can you think of people that you've advised in your life where they kind of come to you and they're like, Alvaro, I really don't know what to do. And you kind of just help them think through the 2 or 3 options that are in front of them. And it's like, oh my gosh, now I see clearly.
I had a funny encounter this year where at an alumni reunion, the wife of an alumnus I had never met before, the wife, came to me and said, thank you so much. Finally meet you. And, I was glad to be thanked, but like, what did I do? I said, well, 14, 15 years ago, my now husband, before getting engaged, told me I have to go and talk to my headmaster and talk to you and then come back and propose. And apparently, this alumnus had come to me to ask me whether I thought he should marry this woman. And, talk me through his
Situation.
thought pattern. And to me, it was very clear from the beginning, like, yeah, of course you should. Like, why shouldn't you? Right? You've met, you love each other. Why not?
Right.
Like, there's really no reason not to do it. Just do it. And, they've been very happily married for a couple decades and children and all that. But it was that moment of somebody coming and, from my point of view, the decision was very clear.
Right.
But for him, he needed somebody to say,
it's
there, do it.
Right.
Do it.
Which goes back to the importance of having advisors in your life who know you.
Right.
And who can kind of help you
Right.
pick a direction or like make the jump.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it's so important. And I joked with someone recently that I felt like I learned more from one of my mentors back in college than I actually learned in college, like in the classroom. Like you just
Right.
learn more about life, about, in this case, business, than I learned in the classroom. at least I learned that you can't have a mentor until you have the humility to say that you need one, and the humility to say, oh, I don't know everything, and to be curious enough to say, I need to go seek counsel here. And that's actually something, it's hard. I think it's hard, especially for guys to do, because
Yes.
we think we know everything.
Yes.
But
It's a great first step.
Yeah, it is.
I think that is so true, that the humility is the openness to the advice.
Right.
And it implies that I don't know everything.
Right.
That is hard.
And it's funny, also the openness that you have, I think also makes you more attractive as a mentee. Meaning
Sure.
that one of the things I've noticed is whenever I ask an older person for help or advice, and it's like a genuine, like sincere, you know something that I don't know, I need your help. I've rarely found anyone who didn't say that they could grab coffee or hop on the phone.
So true. So true. I think that is really important for young people to understand. Older people want to help.
They do. You just got to ask.
You just got to ask.
And you got to be humble, like genuine, like the humility to be like, I don't have everything figured out and I need your help.
Yes. And people want to help.
They do. And there's an old Steve Jobs quote of like, I've never found anyone who didn't help me when I asked. And it's just so true.
It's so true.
It's so true.
Especially, for people who've been, in the professional world for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to share their experience. They want to talk
course.
about how they got there, what they did.
What
and
worked, what didn't work.
What worked, what didn't work. And so I think that's a very good way to find mentors. It's just go to people and you can always have a conversation. If it doesn't resonate with you, then one conversation is not going to kill you.
And I liked what you said from earlier about find someone that you admire. Like it's not someone just random off the street. Like pick someone who you're like, this person does this thing really well. Maybe it's like, if you want dating advice, ask someone who has like a happy marriage, right? Or like you want to ask someone to get in shape, ask someone who's in shape.
Yeah,
like,
don't ask the guy who's been divorced 4 times.
Right.
Well, he's dated a lot. Like,
Right,
maybe
exactly.
I should ask him. Like,
maybe talking about like prenups or something.
Right.
Not that.
Thank you so much for being here with us. If you're enjoying this episode and if you actually want to help us create more episodes just like this, one really helpful thing that you can do is actually to suggest other guests for us. The way we find great people is by asking great people. And some of the best guest ideas have come from outside the studio, from people just like you. So if there's anyone that you think would be a great fit for the show that you want us to interview, please fill out Google form in this description and we will take a serious look at reaching out to them and setting up an interview. So thank you so much.
I am curious. So one of the things I imagine a lot of your mentees probably ask you, and that you just see by virtue of kind of what you do and being in the high school, is the question of whether to go to college or not. And it's funny, I was printing out some stuff at FedEx earlier today, and I told the guy at the front, his name's Nick, and I've asked him this before, but I'll tell him the interview I'm going to do, and then I'll say, what question should I ask? And the question that he had was, is college worth it for young men? And then he started talking about like trade school and stuff. But that question of like, is college worth it, is something that I think more and more people are talking about, especially with, AI, online learning, the cost of education.
Right.
And I know you've thought a lot about this. What are some of the things that you tell your students about how to think through the go, no-go decision on college?
Right. Yes, it's a great question. So is college worth it? I think that question has to be predicated by another question, which is, what do you want to get out of college? Because you can't determine whether it is worth it or not unless you have an end in mind.
Right.
Right? Is going on this trip worth it? I don't know. What are you looking for? Right? So everything that we do, it has to be predicated by what is the point of it. And then I can analyze whether this is the best way to get there. So I think that's the first question. Like, what
are you trying to get out of it?
Yeah. What do you want to get out of college? What's the point? So if somebody says, well, I just want to study the classics, I want to imbue myself in the classical world and read great books and discuss them, then I would say, yes, going to college is really worth it. Because that's where you're going to find minds who are going to help you do that.
Right.
And do it very, very well. Right. If somebody says, well, I want to learn engineering and I want to be able to build stadiums with the retractable roofs. Yeah, you should go and go to a good engineering school. If you say, well, I want to go into business. Okay, let's talk about that. Right? Most young people now say they want to go into business, not because they want to go into business, but because they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
And business is this huge umbrella,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
They just like everything.
Can mean anything. Right.
Like I don't think I want to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, so I want to do business.
Right.
Okay. So then
It's kind of just a catch-all.
it's a catch-all.
Right.
Right. So then it's all right. What do you really want? Right. And that's where the conversation goes. So to me, is it worth going at that point? I think it depends. If it's a good student, then I think it's still worth going to school because what you're going to learn, and I can talk about that, what I think you should learn, what you're going to learn. I think also about who you're going to meet, the context, the network, about finding good mentors like you did.
Right.
You know, some professor can help you in your business life. And also because up to now, and I think for the next few years at least, where you go to school is a little bit of a platform that allows you to go places.
What does that mean?
It means that if you have a degree from a really good university, people look at you more favorably.
It's a
Right.
resume sticker.
It's a resume sticker.
Launchpad.
It still is, right? It doesn't. It's not the only way, but in some ways, it's a simple way to do it. So, if that's what you want, then sure. Now, if you're not a great student or you don't like school, at least take a year off and try to find a good internship. The challenge is that there are not a lot of really good professional things an 18-year-old can do in our society.
Right.
There are not a lot of great internships that a high school graduate can latch on to.
Right.
So take a year off, take a gap year. But I find that gap years are hard to put together, right? That they're hard to have a really good
To put together a productive
gap year.
Right.
Right? I mean, to work at a fast food restaurant for a year.
Is that productive? Starbucks, is that
Right.
productive?
I'm not sure. Right. I don't think so. It might be in some cases if all you need is money, but otherwise it's not a great career path in most cases.
Think back to some of the people you know. Has there ever been a really productive gap year where you go, that's it. That's a really well put together gap year that someone did?
Yeah, the one I'm thinking about, but it was productive because allowed him to reapply to school and go to a better school. He didn't get into his number one choice out of high school, got into another school that is really good, but his heart was not into it. And I remember sitting down with him and his parents and saying, you're going to put down $60,000 a year to go to a place that you're not excited about.
Right.
Like, don't do it. Take a year off.
Right.
Rethink what you want to do. Reapply. And in that year, he worked for Catholic Charities for a while. I think the coolest thing that he did is because of his background, he was a very good skier, and his background in Germany allowed him to go back to the Alps and become a ski instructor in the Alps.
Wow. That's
Because he was almost there. He needed another month to get all the certificates. Like,
Right.
well, that's really cool to do,
Really
right?
cool. Right.
And then did some work in Jamaica, did some service work and things like that, right?
Wow.
So that was...
It's a good gap year.
It's a good gap year.
Right.
Now,
some adventure. Some service.
Service
Right.
and getting some certificate that he wanted that probably, he would have looked back and think that it was a pity that he didn't get it when he could have.
Right.
And then he reapplied and got into a great school and did very well there.
And so for the kids that do go to college, you said that there's certain things you should learn. Okay. What is some of your cookie cutter advice on what you should learn?
Right. So here's what I would advise. If you want to do the liberal arts, go to a place that does them well. If you want engineering, go to a place that does them well, or pre-med, right, those things. If you want to do business, what I would say is and I have very, very good friends in business schools, so they'll hate me for this. And there's a couple, by the way, that are really, really good. But I would say don't go to business school. Study either philosophy, literature, history, or the classics. Get a major in one of those four. The reason for it is that by the time that you enter the workforce in 5 years from now, you don't know what the workforce is going to look like.
Right.
And nobody really does.
Right. Especially with AI now.
With AI. Like, we have some ideas and projections, but we don't really know. But I'm pretty sure about one thing, that as AI replaces a lot of the jobs, the one thing that's going to be hard to replace, that is going to be very much welcome, is going to be the analytical reasoning and the fresh point of view.
Right.
It's going to be the guy in the room who can come in and say, let's look at this from this other angle.
Right.
And this is why we should go this way.
Right.
Who can have that analytical reasoning, that perspective to be able to look at a problem from different angles, who can communicate very clearly, both orally and in the written form.
Right.
Like, that guy is going to be priceless for any corporation in business. So as a major, and I think that if you do philosophy or literature or history or classics, you are forced to develop your analytical reasoning, because you're in the class, small groups, you're talking about the readings, you're talking about the translation, right? You're talking about the ideas.
Find insights, ideas, arguments.
You benefit from others' insights. Right. You learn to converse. You write a lot, right? So you're developing all these life skills. In addition to that, I would say then take a couple classes on programming. Not to be the guy behind the veil who's programming and doing all the algorithms,
Right.
but to be familiar with programs and not be intimidated by that conversation.
Technical stuff, right.
And be able to use it.
Right.
And then take a class on accounting, take a class on finance, just sort of to know the very technical aspects of that side of the business, so that same idea as programming, not to become an expert, but so that how it works, not to be intimidated, be able to use it to your advantage.
Right.
I think that is the education that's the education that right now I would recommend people to follow.
And that's actually very in line with what a lot of employers are actually looking for now.
100%.
Like, I saw this graph that basically said it took, I think, 100 skills, and it mapped it onto this like quadrant, and it was like, I can't remember all the different areas, but the top right section was like, is important and will be needed in the future. And then the bottom left was, is unimportant and will not be needed in the future.
Right.
And all of the stuff in the upper right-hand corner were these things like creative thinking, original insight, communication skills.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the stuff in the bottom left-hand corner were a lot of the technical skills, because what AI is going to be able to do is
replace the whole quadrant.
Exactly. But what it can't do, to your point, is the very human things, which are, can you communicate your idea? Can you think of good ideas? So can you find good ideas? Can you communicate those ideas? And then can you kind of use your ideas, mix them up with others to get to some like new original insight?
No, I think that's right. And going back to, to this and then putting together the point that we made about contemplation.
Right.
You can't really listen to people in a meeting and come up with a fresh idea unless you have a habit of contemplation. Unless you can sit in that meeting without preconceived notion of what the end result ought to be, and actually listen to what people say, and even more importantly, what people don't say.
Right.
But that you believe that they really want.
Right.
If you are not capable of listening to those things, you're not going to be able to provide the solution that is actually the best for the group, right? That's going to be most acceptable.
And it's funny, that totally aligns with, when I think back to the very important people that I've been fortunate enough to like shadow or be around in business, their day isn't them sitting on a computer building like an Excel model. It's meetings, it's emails, and all of that stuff is essentially, it's like, how well do you listen? how well can you communicate your ideas, and there's this to your point, the humility of actually like listening for the exquisite insight,
Right.
which you can only get if there's kind of the openness to listen.
If you're actually listening.
Right. No, it's so
Yeah.
important.
No, a lot of people say, I mean, we've all been in meetings, and sometimes you realize people are talking, but no one is listening.
Right.
It's actually many points of
Right.
view, and they're just clashing.
Right.
It's like bumper cars.
And what's the point
Yeah.
of the meeting if it isn't to actually change your view or exchange views and get to something new?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you walk out of a meeting and everyone thinks the exact same thing, you just wasted an hour of everyone's time.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
So I always think that's super, super interesting. So with regards to college, are there any other reasons why you shouldn't go to college? So I know one thing that a lot of people say is the college experience. I need to go meet people, and like college is the best time to go do it. What do you say
Sure.
to your mentees who say that to you?
If you think that college is the best 4 years of your life, you have entered the most depressing worldview ever to exist, right? Can you imagine that? Like, yeah, these are the best 4 years. Now I'm 22 and I'm in a steady decline to nothingness for the rest of my life. That is exciting, right?
Right.
So the
hate that
college experience, I mean, I would again ask him, what do you mean by that? Like, there's some terms that we throw around that we're supposed to know what it means, but actually have no meaning in themselves. Like college experience, what do you mean by that? Do you mean that you want to get drunk as often as you want?
To join a frat
and join a frat and all that?
Right.
Like, are you willing to pay $60,000 for that? I'll tell you what, go to your parents, ask them for $10,000 to blow in alcohol and
Visa or
drugs.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just do that for a couple of years.
Right. They'd
And
probably prefer that to $250,000.
you'll save a lot of money.
Right.
And then come back and do something more productive, right?
Right.
So the college experience, like, what do you mean by that?
Right.
Right. If what you mean is experience of growth by meeting other people, get outside of my comfort zone, okay, that's more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, college experience usually means something that I don't want to talk about, by the way, wink, wink, know what that is.
Right.
And
Yeah. Get bad habits, join
Exactly.
a fraternity, go out drinking, all that stuff.
Destroy all the things that you have been trying to build for 18
Right.
years.
Yeah, get bad habits, all
Right.
that stuff. Right.
So that's one. The other one that I think is much more relevant now is don't go into debt. Don't go into debt. Like, it's just not, I think that's almost universal now. I don't say quite totally universal, because there may be some cases where going into debt is a good investment.
Right.
But I think in the vast majority, don't go into debt. If you can get a place where you're going to go in the scholarship, look into community college, transfer junior year to a state university,
Right.
look for ways to do that so that when you graduate,
You're not saddled with that.
you're not saddled with that.
Yeah, people. I don't think people actually understand. Like $250,000 is a lot of money. That's
It's
what Princeton
crippling.
was.
It's
Yeah, it was-
crippling, for sure. Yeah, I think it goes back to that idea. It's like, why do I want to get out of this thing?
Right.
And how much am I investing in it?
Right.
Is it really worth? Is that class worth $700?
Yeah. It's tough.
I
It's
don't
tough.
know.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
the other thing is that I do think that with online school now, there's so much knowledge and learning that's out there on the internet for a quarter of the price that it
Yes.
does kind of make the bar for like whether you should go to college. I think it's a high bar. Like I was talking to someone the other day who was like, I can learn everything that I want to learn. It was a technical school too for like computer science
Sure.
in like MIT's online school for programming.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think for the technical stuff like programming, I agree. I think online is
Yeah.
the way to go. I think where in person really comes through is more in the humanities.
Yeah, for sure.
Online, you just, there's such value to sitting down around an oak table and discussing Plato or Jane Austen or Shakespeare and just talking and seeing what people think about it and why they read the passage that way that you don't.
Right.
Like that, I think, has great value, and that has to be in person.
It probably also going back to the contemplation point. There's some contemplation there, right? Like you can't
Yes.
participate in that oak table discussion unless you've contemplated.
Yes, and we had that experience during COVID when some schools tried to do these online forums, and I think we can all, I don't know if we can all accept this, but I think internally we all agree that most of them were a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the kind of online, forums where people discuss
Yeah.
books. It just didn't work.
Right.
Like you have to be face to face. You have to be in the same room with
I
people.
totally agree. The Zoom, they've done studies now which show that I think Zoom meetings, Zoom classes, there's a fraction of the focus.
100%.
So what would you say to someone who says, I can't go to college, I want to go for the humanities thing, and to follow Alvaro's rules, but I can't do it without taking on some debt. Do you still think it's kind of worth it in 2026 to do that?
What do you mean by some debt? Right?
$100,000.
Not worth it.
Not worth it. What makes you say that?
It's 100,000. Okay, what makes me say that? I think what I would look at is, all right, if I could put a down payment in a nice house for that price, I'm not sure that it is worth it.
Right.
Right. So 100,000 you can put down a down payment on a nice house, right?
Yeah, and if you said so, one of the things that someone could say is, "Oh, well, the value of the network." You know what you could say is, if you had $100,000, you know how many networking events you could pay to
Yes.
attend. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's probably a lot of ways that you could
Yeah.
spend that.
And I think there are ways. I think there are ways you can go to universities where you don't pay that amount. Again, I mean, either the community college and then go in the state,
right.
or maybe you don't go to that top university. Maybe you go to another one that's going to give you money to go there.
Right. Scholarships, right.
Find scholarships. Do ROTC. Do
Right.
find ways that
To
you don't
reduce that.
you don't get into that
Right.
debt.
No, I
Right.
think that's
Beg if you have to.
right. Or don't go. I mean, it goes.
Don't go.
And I think that it does take a little bit of courage to not go.
It does. It still does. It takes courage because there's a stigma. It's still, especially in the DMV and some of the major cities, there's a stigma to not going to college.
Yeah.
And also because unless you want to pursue a trade, which is really a good way to go for many, but unless you want to pursue a trade, as we discussed earlier, there isn't a clear path of what to do, how to get into the
Right.
business world without going to college.
Right.
I think that's going to change. I think more and more that's going to change in the next few years, where companies will be much more willing to hire people out of high school.
Right.
And maybe have some training programs or something.
It's funny. I do think perspectives on college is something that's probably, I think, evolved over the last 20 to 25 years.
Yes.
I am curious to hear, kind of in your experience over the last 20 to 30 years, what things maybe haven't changed, especially when with regards to kind of young men and their development. Like, what are the things that you've observed that 2026 to 1998, it's still the same set of challenges and difficulties? And
I think most of them. I mean, I think human nature is very stable. I mean, it's amazing even when you read things from the 40s, you read things from the 1800s, talk about young people, and the complaints, if you were to read them today, you would think that they are contemporary. It's the same things. Like, human nature hasn't changed that much. I think what has changed is that the temptations to live a life of dissipation are more aggressive now, right? And they're more aggressive because we have so much, again, because of the screens, because of the internet, because we have so much access to things, right? So the temptations to distraction, the temptations to pleasure-seeking, hedonism, like all those are much more aggressive.
Right.
Just the simple overuse example of pornography for young men.
Right.
When I was growing up, you had to go out of your way to find it.
Right. You had to go to a store, and that's
To get a
embarrassing because people
magazine,
see you.
and if you were a kid, you couldn't
Right.
buy it. You had to
Right.
find somebody older. I mean, it was hard, right? Now you have to
Click of
go
a
out of
button.
your way to keep it out of your life.
Right.
Even a middle school kid, right?
Right.
So the temptations are much more aggressive
Right.
than they used to be. But what I've seen is that I think young men are living, on average, better lives now than they did 30 years ago. I look at the students in my school, and I must say that when I look even at a average senior class, And there's all kinds of things. But average senior class, I would say, I don't remember people like this growing up. Like I didn't have friends like these growing up when I was in Spain. Like
Right.
I don't know where they were. Maybe they existed, but not in my circle, right?
Why do you think that is?
I think that it is because young people now know better. They know that the life of dissipation doesn't really work.
Right.
Some of them are still attracted to it and they fall into it, but there are plenty who know it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because they have examples around them that
Right.
they can point to or their own initial experience.
Right.
And because of that, they're much more determined to actually live a good life. I also think that parents now are much more intentional than they were a generation ago for the same reason. They see the pitfalls, and therefore they're much more intentional about helping their children grow into good men and women.
Right.
So I think that actually things are not getting worse. I don't agree with people who say that things today are worse than they were a generation ago. I think that's not true. I think the bad is getting worse and the good is getting better. Right? I think there's just more of a gap that is happening.
There's a great quote. I can't remember who this was, but I saw it recently. It's never been easier to succeed, but it's also never been easier to do nothing with your life.
I agree. Yes, I think that's right. I think that's right. I think it's never been so easy to just do nothing.
Right.
Scroll on the screen, do nothing,
Right.
have things provided for you, and live comfortably.
Right.
Right in our area, and at the same time, the intentionality to live good lives.
Right.
is
There's
much more
so much
present.
there's so much to your point there. I do feel like people, they are still attracted to kind of like the life of pleasure, but it's almost like because there is so much pleasure that they've experienced, it's
Right.
easy for them to see quickly that it actually doesn't
It
lead
doesn't
to
work.
something. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't
You
get
know
them
what I mean?
what
Like-
they think they
right.
it's going to get them, and just the resources. Like you wouldn't be you 30 years ago. Like you wouldn't be doing this,
Right.
right? You'll be doing something else
I
right
have
now.
no idea what I would be doing.
And yeah, let's not get into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, this is about you. It's
Right,
not about
exactly.
me. Right? You don't be doing your morning routine or
I
your
certainly
evening
would
routine.
not.
Right.
Certainly would not.
But the fact that this is happening now, that
Right.
there are resources like this that people can listen to and make life decisions that are much more intentional and they're pointing in the right direction, in the direction that they want to go to.
Right, right. I totally agree, and it's one of the things that gives me a lot of hope for my generation is that I just think like if you want to live a really good life, there's never been more resources out there, more information. It's never been easier to like eat cleaner. Like that's a stupid example, but like as an athlete, like there's so many like companies now that make like healthy food that like
Right.
if you want to be healthy and get in shape, like super easy. Like there's all these supplements you can have now.
Yes.
But if you also want to eat Taco Bell every day, never been cheaper. Like it's also
Exactly.
super easy.
Yes.
DoorDash it to your house, right?
I'm a huge proponent and believer in your generation. Like I we talk about the greatest generation.
Right.
And I like to think of it as the great generation, not to take anything away from them because they were incredible people that saved this country, saved the world, and they sacrificed themselves incredibly.
Right.
Right. But I wouldn't call it the greatest generation because I think the greatest generation is still to come. Like I think that window's open.
Right.
And we can't think of future generations as never been able to compare. They will never be able to compare to those great people who sacrificed themselves.
Right.
I believe that your generation actually is fighting a world war.
Right.
And not on the shores of Europe or Asia, but actually in everyone's heart. Like that's what this battle is about. Right. What you're doing with your podcast, what I'm trying to do with the school, is to activate
Right.
people into enlisting
Right.
and fighting
Right.
because they're in the war. They just gotta know that's what they're doing,
Right.
and they gotta be trained, they gotta be helped to become
Yeah.
successful in that way.
And what do you say to someone who their life isn't where they want it to be, they know that they have all these deficiencies.
Great.
They know that. So, like, what can
Great.
people change? Can they
Yeah,
improve?
no,
Like,
great. Because the real problem is not when you know your life is not where you want it to be. It's when you don't know that your life is not where you want it to be, and it isn't there, right?
Right.
So the fact that you know is great.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fantastic step. You can change. Everyone can change. Because, when we talk about change, and, it's not that all of a sudden you change your whole life. Like, no, you don't change your past.
Right.
And your habits are your habits. But if you change your disposition and your attitude, then you begin to change your habits. And you begin to change your decisions. And over time, who you appear to be and who you are actually can change.
Wow.
So I think that if you are not where you want to be, fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic. You have to ask yourself, what is the point of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Going back to the afterlife, like, where am I going?
Right.
What is the point? And once I decide that, who is going to be on my team? Who am I going to partner with?
Right.
Right? To be able to get there.
Have you seen people who have really transformed themselves? Because one of the things I think about a lot is, and there's research on this now, that the real time for change, if you really want to rewire yourself, is often when you're young, between the ages of like 16 and 28. Like, that's just, frontal lobe isn't developed. Apparently it's when your personality changes the most in your life. And so I think a lot about like growth and like transformation, and like the person who you are at 16 doesn't have to be the person you are at 25, 26.
Yes.
And you see people over that cycle.
A ton of them. And it's everything from very, very small steps. Some years ago, talking to a student right before graduation, who was very shy and had been very shy through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking him and saying, by the way, now that you're graduating and going to university where you're not going to know anybody, you have an opportunity to remake yourself. Like, because what happens is that once you're in a place for a number of years, like in a high school, you can get stuck. Right. Like, if you're the shy kid, and it's much, much harder to get out of your shell, because everyone just knows that you're who you are, right? You're that guy. Mm-hmm. But now you have an opportunity. Like, from day one, meet people, go out. And I saw him later, and I asked him, how's it going? And he said, fantastic.
Wow.
Like, the first week, I made a point of having meals with different people every time, of introducing myself. And now I have a bunch of people, of friends, and I feel so much better.
I love it.
Right? So that's a small way.
Yeah,
that's like an aspect of your personality.
Right.
Like, yeah, you have this chance. And it's part of the life plan. Like, now you're going to college. This is one thing that you can do.
Right.
Like, how do you want to change who you are?
Right.
Your persona.
And I think, to your point from earlier, like, there are these kind of different moments where you're going to step into a new environment.
Transition points.
Right. So, like, when you go to a new high school, what an opportunity for you to decide who you want to be.
Exactly.
Right. When you go to college, what an opportunity to decide
Work.
who you're going to be. Right. When you go into a new job, it's
New
like
employment.
new internship.
Yes.
No one knows you.
Yes.
And it's such a nice moment for you. Like, okay, you were a little mean when you were 14.
Right.
You don't got to be that way at 23,
Yes.
right? No
Yes.
one, right? Like, you're not generous.
Yes.
When you were 19.
100%.
Why can't you be generous when you're 24?
100%. And people change. Like, I've seen, I've always told my students and alumni, I don't remember bad things like they do. Like, I'll see people years later and go, oh, so remember that? Like, I don't remember. Even though I remember one time talking to a student, he was a senior. Before graduation, he told me, remember when you suspended me for 3 months, freshman year? And I said, my God, I don't remember that. Like, and that's, it's just three months suspension at home. That is like serious business.
Right.
3 years later, I had forgotten. He had to remind me of the situation. But one of them was a student many, many years ago that he was so bad senior year that in February, I told him, okay, here's the deal. You're not allowed on campus. If I don't see you, if I don't hear that you're here, between now and graduation, I'll give you a diploma.
Right.
If I see you or hear about you, you're done. right? The message is we are better off without you.
Right.
You're like
Right,
this
yeah.
little cancer. I just got to pull you out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was good about it. He didn't come to school and didn't hear about him, and then got a diploma. His parents were so upset that he didn't come to graduation because they thought he had wasted the whole thing. And then I didn't hear about from him for a few years. 6, 7 years later, he walked into the school, came into my office, and said, "How you doing, sir?" And I'm like, "Great to see you." Like, bring me up to speed. And he said, he brought me up to speed and said, "By the way, thank you so much. I was so bad, and I deserve everything I got, but I really missed this place, and it gave me a lot of good stuff. How's everything going?" And then his advice was, be tough on those students.
Right.
Don't go soft.
I love it.
Easy
Yeah.
for you to say now. I don't know
love
what
it.
you said senior year when
That's
you were
amazing.
screaming.
I love that story.
But people change.
Yeah.
Like people change, especially, when somebody's
When
14,
you're young.
15.
Yeah.
I can do stupid things. That's fine. People
love it.
do change.
So I am mindful of the clock, and I know you got to get out of here. So we're going to do one more quick thing. We're going to
Okay.
play a quick game.
All right.
We always do this because we're fun. We're calling it This or That 2026 Reading Edition. I know
Okay.
you're a big reader. You have a book club. So I'm going to read 2 books off, and you have to say which one you'd recommend.
Of
Which
the two.
one- Of the two,
Okay.
right? And so some of these are tough choices. You might have, if you want to say neither, that's fine. I think that's kind of a cop out, but try to pick
Ooh.
one of these.
Oh, talk about
Okay.
it. It's fine, but you're a loser.
Right.
If you do that. Thanks a lot for that
Okay,
setup.
so
Great.
First one, Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
48 Laws of Power versus 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
7 Habits.
Man's Search for Meaning versus Brideshead Revisited.
Both. You have to read both. Okay, Brideshead.
Brideshead? Okay.
Wait, read both.
Read both. Hunger Games versus Maze Runner.
Both stupid.
Both stupid.
Maze Runner maybe is less harmful.
Less harmful. Okay. Think and Grow Rich versus Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Meditations versus The Republic.
The Republic.
Ooh. Fault in Our Stars versus It Ends With Us.
I haven't read either one.
Yeah, I would be shocked if you. There's a movie. It ends with you.
Okay.
I'm not surprised. Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation versus Jonathan Haidt's The Happiness Hypothesis.
I haven't read the second one. The Anxious Generation is very good, although he himself would say that he missed a couple things.
Really, The Happiness Hypothesis is really good.
Okay.
I've read part of The Anxious Generation, but Happiness Hypothesis is good.
I should read it.
Deep Work by Cal Newport or Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Deep Work. I think Cal Newport is fantastic.
He is fantastic. The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman versus The 4 Loves by C.S. Lewis.
4 Loves by C.S. Lewis.
That was quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a beautiful work.
Yeah.
The 5 love languages, just get the titles of the 5 and you're good
And
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 4 Loves is worth reading.
I love it. I love it. Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald versus Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway.
Great Gatsby.
Ooh, that was also quick.
Old Man in the Sea, great work, is so depressing.
Ooh.
So depressing.
Great Gatsby is also kind of depressing.
I know, but I mean, you give me...
Maybe less depressing?
Yeah, you give me...
He has lavish parties
Cut off
and
your
stuff.
hand or cut off your arm. Like,
Right.
I'll go for the hand.
Okay, fair enough. 1984 versus Brave New World.
Brave New World.
The Iliad versus the Odyssey.
Whew, both.
Both? You had to pick one.
Okay, I'll go for the Odyssey.
Wow. Are you going to see the movie when it comes out?
Probably not.
What?
I don't like...
We're going to see it together.
I don't like to
2026.
watch movies that
about books
steal
you
my
love.
imagination.
Right. I totally agree with that normally. But it's Chris Nolan. He did the Batman movies.
That's true.
Okay, that's the end of the fun segment, the game. One other tradition we have on the show is we have a little book that we call the 20-something rule book. And we ask every guest
Here it is.
to write down a 1-sentence piece of advice, piece of guidance, or rule that they would have for young adults that they should follow. So if you open up to
Wow.
that-
Handwritten?
handwritten,
Good luck anybody reading this thing.
and then sign your name under. Why don't you do it on this page?
Okay. Meditate for at least 10 minutes every day.
Wow. contemplation. I love it.
I think if you do that, everything else
Falls
will
into
work
place.
out
10 minutes in silence, meditate.
every day.
Mr. De Vicente, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Daniel.
It was awesome. We'll get you out of here. No Chipotle, though.
Great.